bit upright, bit low.
I'll stand up.
Hey, what's up?
Hi, and we're also joined by team owner Joe Gibbs. Thanks for joining us, guys. Congratulations. We'll continue with our media availabilities. If you have a question, please raise your hand.
Well, this is about normal.
We'll go over here to Jerry and then down to the front to Dustin.
For Mr. Gibbs, please, this is Jerry Fraley of the Dallas Morning News. Mr. Gibbs, you find it all remarkable that only 7 races into the season, only 2 organizations have wins? 2 elite organizations, obviously.
Yeah, I think what happens in our sport, you get on a hot streak, and then we all know in pro sports the hardest thing is to stay up there. And so I would say that some of those others are knocking on the door. I think there were some teams today that had a chance, but they made mistakes. And so I think it's just one of those things right now. But, we're thrilled to be a part of it, I'll tell you that. And I hope we can find a way to stay up there. But in pro sports, we all know the hardest thing is to stay up there week in and week out because, we got so many really good cars, many good owners, and good competitors. It's the best racing in the world.
We'll come down here to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. I've got a couple of questions for Denny. First off, the speeding penalty, the end control tire. I think did you miss pit road or did you run out of fuel?
I missed pit. Well, both. We ran out of fuel. I know, it's amazing.
It was
we ran out of fuel early
day.
in the race. I passed pit road and we ran out. That cost us, I don't know, 6, 7. It was a lot. It seemed like a lot. I lost the straightaway to everybody else.
327 cars by my count, but maybe not.
And then I tried to come to pit road hot, and I about spun out, and I had to let off the brake to keep from spinning out. And then I knew I wasn't going to make pit road, so I had to check up and then lose another 4 or 5 seconds under another green flag sequence, and then I was just beating my head against the steering wheel, thinking, man, we're going to finish bad with a really fast car, and we just kept digging, and Chris kept doing a good job on encouraging us that we had a long way to go, and we kept passing cars, and I think at some point we passed everyone for sure. But once we got the clean air in the front, the 20 pulled off for his pit stop. It allowed me to be more aggressive with the way I was driving, and then we made a really good adjustment there at the end that got our car better. So really the only time our car kind of struggled handling-wise was when we were in that pack of 3 with our teammates. And had we had the balance we had earlier in the day, I felt like we could have probably got around them. But certainly we were we had a great car all day, just a bunch of hiccups in the middle of it, and we just we're fast enough to overcome everything that kind of got thrown at us.
Obviously, this rules package was one of the intentions was to kind of close the gap with the field or keep the field closer at times. The leader didn't get way out away. Without this rules package, do you win this race with these penalties and issues playing out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, as fast as our car was, I mean, maybe not, but certainly, our car was really reliant on drafting, having somebody in front of me to run fast lap times. But once I could control the pace and I got out front there in stage 2, I thought we were able to pull away as good as anyone from the pack. That just told me how fast our car was. I was able to drive it more aggressively, and then from that point on, I really thought I figured something out inside the car that made me be able to be more aggressive even in traffic than what I was earlier in the day. Yeah, I don't know. It's so different now. I mean, it is so different. When you go to these racetracks, you can't look at past winners and past trends and histories. All that stuff is just no good anymore. You got to just start from scratch, and we're all learning together.
We're going to go over to your right and then up to the press box.
Mark Garrow with PRN. Denny, you just talked about beating your head against steering wheel, frustrated you might lose with a fast car. Do you take some special satisfaction in sort of defying the odds as you all afternoon long, nobody's really thinking about you, and you guys just keep plugging it away and find a way to win?
Yeah, I mean, in short, really all that cost us today was we lost out on stage points in the first stage, and it probably cost us a lot of laps led, more than likely. But certainly things fell favorable for us with the cautions that did come. We were able to have some really good restarts. That was key for us as well. The final 2 restarts, we were really able to gain positions. And really, I thought that we were able to go through the pack as good as anyone when we did get behind. So that was key. It looked like passing was very, very difficult. There's no doubt about it. But it seemed like our car could move around as good as anyone, and that's what was allowed me to be aggressive and allowed me to come through the pack multiple times.
As a follow-up, how do you feel about this major momentum that this team has here at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, it's good. I mean, we're really doing well with bringing fast cars to the track, and obviously me and Chris are still trying to learn each other and figure out what each other need. And each week we're learning more and more. So I think that each week really, from when you get past Daytona, and that was amazing, but all the other racetracks, I feel like we've gotten better and faster every single week from the beginning of the year. So I think a lot of that is them just trying to figure out my style and me trying to adapt to this style of racing.
We'll go ahead and take the questions in the press box.
Lee Spencer, RacingVoice.com. Gabe Hart, you said, I can't wait until we start executing. Can you even begin to guess what the potential of the 11 team can be if you clean up pit road messes?
Yeah, I mean that's that's subjective and what have you. So it's hard to really quantify that. But what's neat about the year for me, and I think Denny would tell you the same, is every race thus far I can point to key scenarios in the race that had we fixed that, whatever that is, it's been different every week, we would have finished better than we finished. We haven't optimized our races yet, and that's encouraging. Now you're racing against the best teams in the world, so it's difficult to have a flawless race. It's not an easy thing. It's one thing to identify, it's another thing to fix. That's something we got to work on. But the exciting thing is we never leave the racetrack guessing where we could have did better. So in that regard, we're definitely haven't reached our potential.
Are there any other questions in the press box? All right, we'll come down here to Jeff, right in the front.
For Denny, this looked a lot more like the Vegas test where we thought everybody was going to be closer together. Was that because of the cooler temps or the VHT or both?
No, you could run more wide open here. And it all has to do with as soon as there's off throttle time, that's when the cars get spread out. Everyone could pretty much run wide open through 3 and 4 here today. So really, in essence, you had about 1.25 miles of straightaway, and really only turns 1 and 2 was the only place where you couldn't run wide open directly behind somebody. You could run wide open behind someone in 3 and 4. So there was more grip at this track than what we've had at any of the other tracks. So that's what allowed the packs to be tighter and the drafting to be more effective. So it's really has to do with when you're grip limited, you're not going to have pack racing. When you have an excess of grip, you will have tighter racing.
Are there any additional questions? We'll go all the way in the back and then up to the front to Dustin again.
Jordan Collard, North Texas Daily. Denny, with your second win of the year under your belt, you're still 8 points behind Kyle Busch. What's your mindset going into Bristol?
Try to win and be first. That'd be awesome. We're doing a good job of plugging away. We're getting stage points. We're running up front. That's what I care about is just running good every single week. And this year has just been different than the last 4 or 5 years, I guess. Just in the sense of, it seems like we have speed. With a little execution, I certainly believe that, we easily could be leading the points. But the 18, has out-executed us a few races, and that's really been the difference. And so I really believe that this team is not even close to where it's going to be in 2 months. So pretty optimistic.
All right, we'll come down here to Dustin and then over to Zach.
Denny, a lot of people talked about you might see teams start to kind of maybe potentially close the gap a little bit off the West Coast swing since it's been a couple weeks. They had a little bit of time to work on their cars. As you were going through the field, since you, as you said, passed 327 cars today, did you get a sense that there is a gap closing, or do you feel like as an organization, JGR has kind of spread it out a little bit more from everybody else off of what you saw since you were all over the place?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, because, we haven't, we've qualified well with our 11 team, but in general, JGR, I don't know that we've all qualified that well this season. So I don't know if the all-out speed is, where we stack up as far as raw speed, but certainly the cars are driving, in my mind, better and better each week for me. And that's coming from Chris, the feedback I give him. He makes adjustments, and we get better. So, he told me this morning that he was optimistic we had a race-winning car, and I'll be honest with you, I thought he was full of shit. I thought that we really struggled with the balance of the car all weekend. It was not a good Friday for us, except for qualifying, where we, tremendously overachieved. But he surprises me. I mean, we show up California, and I was optimistic, but I didn't realize we were going to have as fast as cars we had there, and then again here at Texas. So he's just doing the right things, and I'm learning as a driver. I'm still learning. I mean, this is a complete different style of racing that what I used to do in the past just doesn't work that well, and so I have to adapt, and it seems like I'm adapting quickly.
We'll go to Zach, and then we'll finish up over here with Mark.
Zach Tanzwetti, kickingthetires.net. Do you really think you had something for the 18 car there at the end if he didn't have those issues? You and Eric seemed closer than most of the race up until that point, but he's always a hard guy to pass. Yeah, he's definitely a hard guy to pass. All I can kind of go off of is every time I was around him, I was catching him. I don't know. It just seemed like whoever could get out front could definitely run the pace, especially through 1 and 2, and everyone else would have to just, manage their cars around that. But certainly, we beat them right there on the restart before this end of stage 2, and then we pulled away, and then he got passed by a couple cars, it looked like. So I certainly thought that we had a car certainly that was capable of winning, and we were able to get that done. So, yeah.
We'll go over to your right to Mark.
Mark Aragon, PR, and this is for Chris and Coach. There's always pressure to get to the top and get a gap on everybody. What's the pressure like now for you guys when you clearly, you and Team Penske have a step on everybody else, the pressure to keep that, to keep the same momentum you have now when it really pays off at the end of the year?
Yeah, I think for me, that is the hardest thing in pro sports, and particularly in NASCAR, we have so many competitive teams, and that will be the key to stay up there. So that's our challenge. That's what we're going to have to do. I did want to mention that we're still celebrating JD's life, and Denny mentioned it when he first got in front of the cameras. And so anybody out there that can go to jdgibbslegacy.com, we'd appreciate it. And I think Denny mentioning that is a huge deal for us. And the other thing I wanted to mention is coming to Dallas is a huge deal for us, because we had our
Norm.
Today we had Norm and Interstate, which is a huge deal, our founding sponsor. We just announced this week our extension, which will take us through 30 years of being together. And Norm got us started. We got Toyota, a big partner here that now is in Texas and here in Plano. So it's a huge deal for them also. So those two things I wanted to mention. It's just a huge deal coming here. So many companies are here, and we do so many hospitalities. And as you guys know, it's a huge deal for us, our sponsors, and really, really important for us.
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess for me, I've always found that my biggest competitor is myself. So week in and week out, I just compete to be better, whether it's with the engineers or communicating with Eric, the car chief, or the aero group back at the shop, or Denny, or whatever it may be. How can I be better? That's always been a really good guiding compass for me. and it's worked out. And I'm so thankful that now where I'm at with FedEx and Joe Gibbs Racing and Denny Hamlin, that's really the only thing I need. If I get better week in and week out, I have all the resources around me to take this team to heights unknown. And that's a tall task. That's not easy. You're right. I mean, we're racing against the best in the world, but it's like I've been saying to everybody else, winners want the ball. So let's do it.
All right. Thank you all for joining us, and congratulations.
Thank you.